Here we go. Let's get it live and let's welcome everybody. And good evening and welcome to While the Chicken Soup is Cooking. It's so wonderful to have you in our home this evening, and a very warm welcome as well to our wonderful live virtual studio audience.
And we speak to them when you're speaking about that.
Yeah, well, these guys have bothered to show up, so we'll talk to them.
Do you want us to clap?
Oh, why not? Just like on real TV.
Nick editing in huge applause. That sounds like there's loads
rapturous applause. So before we start, first of all, a lovely welcome back to some people who haven't had a chance necessarily to tune in the last few weeks, or at least we thought it was personal, but it's nice to see you back. And if I can, just a couple of mazel tovs as well to Lawrence and to Stella. Lovely picture this morning of the bar mitzvah, so mazel tov to you. And mazel tov to the graduates that are on tonight from Rebbe's and Jacqueline's course. Which is Kathy and Miriam, and that's it for now. That's it for now. But the next round, I'm sure you guys would all sign on. Tremendous accomplishment, massive achievement.
Nick's been raving on about this course because he's been a bit cheeky, but he's been playing catch up later on.
I get all the recordings.
I have to tell you, I don't know about Miriam, but I really miss doing it. It was so fantastic just to be able to take a piece of Torah and take it apart and put it back together again for a talk. I never thought I would ever be able to do it. It was brilliant. It was so well done. So anyone who hasn't done it, when Rebbe's and Jacqueline does it again, you should sign up. Not everybody was religious. We were all different levels. Am I right, Miriam? Oh, you're silent.
There you go. I'm better like that. That was one of the lovely things. There was a cross section in many ways, you know, age, and oh God, sorry, I've got the antivirus protection warning coming up, blocking you all. And as you say, let's say engagement with Yiddishkeit, and it was just, but everybody who was there had obviously made a resolve that was something that they wanted to do. One thing that did surprise me was how many people said, if I'd known I was going to have to, you know, give a Dvar Torah at the end, I wouldn't have signed up. And I thought that was, you know, I thought, what happened to me? I was quite clear in signing up that was the end product.
Jacqueline told me we'd have to do that. I don't know, but it was really, really good. Very worthwhile. You don't have to be religious. You don't have to have any knowledge at all. But by the end of it, you can take the Sedra and you can look it up and you can see when it happened, who the characters are. You can look at the geography of Israel. I mean, it's just amazing. I'm really thrilled I did it.
I think the amazing
course put together. I mean, the structure of not just Jacqueline's teaching. I mean, Jacqueline's teaching, her passion, her inspiration, but underlying the whole course is Rafi's
Aram,
Rafi's insight, concept, perception, and the clarity of his thought that enabled him to put that course together in that way. And then you have the study guide, so and that's brilliant.
But I think what I took away from it was, because based on what you were saying, Kathy, Mrs. Peters,
you can call me Kathy, and you're not in my class anymore.
Is that there were people from all ages and stages?
Yes.
And the fact that everyone was able to deliver it just shows how what's the word? Approachable, how accessible Torah study, looking at the Torah actually is, and that you know, in 6 short weeks and several hours probably of preparation on the side, people were able to deliver high quality content, and it was also personalized to each individual personality. I sat through 2 of the shifts. I didn't get the other 2 group sessions, but you were hearing the same topics twice, but you were never hearing the same speech twice. And that's because everybody was, it was tailor-made for everyone's individual personality, which is just very special. And to all of those who are thinking that they've got no idea what we're talking about, the next time Robertson Jacqueline launches her course, we strongly encourage you all to join in with it. It really was fantastic. So first of all, by way of introduction, Chodesh Tov, everyone.
Chodesh Tov.
Tonight is Rosh Chodesh Adar, so we're going to go crazy.
You should have done like a filter with
I was just doing it now.
Sorry, I ruined the
I'm
surprise.
just doing the. There we go. There, that is my Rosh Chodesh Adar.
Oh, clever.
We're all dressed up. If anyone who wants to do that as well,
This
go
is
to
what we did the
video
other night.
filters.
Abby did this.
So
that's
so
how
everyone on Facebook is seeing this. Everyone on YouTube is thinking,
What are they going on about?
Yeah.
How did you do that?
If you go to the video button at the bottom, there's a little arrow, and you can choose your video filter.
yeah.
So there you go. Lawrence is in on the action.
We're on an iPad. It's different.
So
Yes.
choose video filter.
Choose video filter or choose virtual background. So come on,
Where's
let's all go crazy. And as long as you don't have meetings in the
virtual
morning.
background. Yeah.
No.
And there may be a video filter tab as well.
Where was ours? Where ours is.
Oh.
Miriam's joined in.
There we go.
Can you have a filter and a background?
Yes, I believe you can.
All right. Well, this is
Now
okay.
now we're talking. Now we're talking.
Someone's just told me that you can make yourself look much nicer as well. It's quite great. Like you don't ever have to wear makeup now.
We're going to have to fiddle with it and try it out.
Yeah.
Very good. Oh, Stella, I love the glasses.
It's a shame that it doesn't do times. There we go. Okay, we've got the Bentleys.
Well, that's an improvement.
Anyone else got an iPad?
Yes.
Yeah. This is
What did
just
you
go
get?
in. Just go into more and then go down to background and filters.
Virtual
Oh.
background.
Where's the filters?
The filters, if you'll see it says background and the other little thing says filters.
No, I haven't got that.
No.
Haven't you?
No, I've got green screen.
Virtual background.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
got
then
that.
where? Then where?
I can put the
I'll
virtual
go like this. I
background
might be able
on.
to put it onto you.
There we are.
I have to go closer. and
Will
then
it
it'll
catch
go.
you as well?
Yeah.
You should be in back
at the same time.
filters.
I
no?
can't do it at the same time.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry.
I just can't get, well, we'll fiddle around with it
I
another time.
think upstairs I am.
Yes.
Have you put the lipstick filter on there?
Never mind that.
I don't know how you do that.
So tonight's big question for our live virtual studio audience: Misha nichnas Adar marbim b'simcha.
Quite
When the
good.
month of Adar starts, we increase our amount of simcha. So our question tonight is: what is the secret to happiness? Let's throw it out there. Or what makes you happy?
Virtual background
Yeah.
seem to be.
I mean, I am loving this.
Shira's disappearing.
No, it's because of the virtual background. I think we should get rid
We'll
of
turn
it,
it
to
off
be
now.
honest.
We'll leave the mask on, social distancing and all
I don't know how they do it.
that. Yeah. So what is the secret to happiness?
Learning, gaining IT skills on as we are now.
Gaining ideas or any
Yeah.
new skill, perhaps?
Yeah. Yeah.
The feeling of
When
accomplishment.
you see what other people can do and you realize how far back you have fallen, it's really quite depressing.
There was there's a series of videos on YouTube where they get kids from this generation to react to items and gadgets from previous generations, from the 90s, the 80s, the 70s, whenever it is.
Oh, yes, we saw it.
They give them like tape recorders and all these different things, and they're like, play, figure out what this does, and you just see these kids. They're like they can't fit. They're like, where's the screen? Where's the touchpad? And you feel really old when you watch someone.
I mean, our kids even, like, they won't speak on a phone like normal human beings on their ear. They'll like put it on loudspeaker and walk around like this because that's what everyone does nowadays rather than speaking. because of you, rather than speaking properly. I don't know. I think it's really interesting. I think when
In
we
the
gave my
1930s,
parents phone, they were like, so
in the
confused.
1930s, we didn't even have a ballpoint pen.
Mm.
Wow.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
We just had pencils.
Oh, you must have been well to do.
Luxury. Luxury.
Didn't know you were born. Pencils,
Because-
where I come from, we were lucky to live in half a shoebox on motorway.
It's different things at different ages, isn't it? My father-in-law, who was a highly educated man, highly intelligent, gobsmacked when Sinclair brought out their 4-function calculator. plus, minus, add and subtract. Couldn't believe it. And
It couldn't do equals.
different things at different ages, isn't it? It's
Yeah.
we would laugh at that now, wouldn't we? And when you think of how far technology has come, and no doubt our grandchildren are the same, aren't they?
Yeah.
Laughing at some of the things we take for granted or grew up with ourselves. It's happiness is different things at different times, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because of that, you will be able to do mental arithmetic far more quickly than any of the younger ones.
But I can do it in my
Yeah.
I can do it in my head, and they can't.
Yeah.
isn't it?
That's right. That's
They
right.
don't know what their times tables are, do they?
You can't.
Oh, no, those they have to learn.
Yeah.
They
Yes,
have
I was
to
going
learn
to
those.
say, year
Not in
before
the
they
same
have to
way.
be proficient.
Wanted
No.
to-
It comes to something where the accuracy of their number work, it depends on the accuracy of inputting the figures into the calculator.
I mean,
Years ago, we used to know an accountant who said when he took in his first year people, he wouldn't let them use a calculator for the whole of the first year. He wanted to know that they could work it all out. Remember? You don't remember? I remember it. I'll tell you who it was afterwards.
I mean, in my day, I had a pencil case, and on the back was the entire chart of times tables, so it was very easy.
You can still get those.
So that's why he became a rabbi and not an accountant.
No, that's how he cheated in his exams.
Now that's a story, Lawrence.
That's a
Yeah.
story for another time, I think.
No, you had
That's
to have
for Purim after a few drinks.
Oh.
What did you say?
I tell you something also interesting, that, in my opinion, that when we were young, there were the comics, especially like things like Dick Tracy had a watch which was a TV screen, and we're talking about the 1940s, and here we are today with a watch which is the TV screen. Absolutely, and when I was a kid, you think, never happen, and yet, science fiction can produce
You're right
things.
sometimes. I'm still waiting for my Back to the Future hoverboard, but I guess I'll be waiting a little longer.
I was watching a program last night, and they were showing a lady was out walking down Cornwall, Land's End, and she came across the first radio station that Marconi set up, and they showed how he broadcast the first radio waves. I mean, you can't get your head around that today, can you? When you think how we communicate through satellites these days and everything else, it's just amazing.
Well, I remember quite early in our married life when, like most people, we used to rent a television, and the television broke down, and we called the engineer out, and I said to him, "What do you think is the future of television?" I'm going back a long time, maybe 40 odd years, if not more. I said, what's the future of television? He said, "The future of television is it will be almost like a sheet of glass that you can hang on the wall." I said, "Really?" He said, "Yeah, and all you do is you plug it in and it will activate things in the screen and you'll end up with a picture." Unbelievable.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
And yet my grandchildren say to me, "Papa, were there still dinosaurs when you were a kid?"
Oh, yeah.
I got that from a bar mitzvah kid the other day when I was teaching someone.
Really?
And they were like, "Well, we all know that there were dinosaurs when you were younger, Rabbi." But I was describing to him about my first mobile phone, and I was 17. I realized you guys may have been older than 17, but I was younger than 17. But I was a kid when mobile phone technology was emerging, but it was unheard of for people who were like 8 years old to have mobile phones.
Yeah.
We would have been mid-teens or later when we first got them. And now people have got like 8 years old and they've got full computer workstations with 2 monitors in their bedrooms. So it's a completely different world now.
It is.
But does it bring you happiness? That's the question.
Aha, that's different.
Well, I'll tell you what brings me happiness. I'm a simple man. A dust 25-year-old malt. That brings me happiness.
A 25-year-old malt.
Someone bringing me my pipe and slippers every night. That's what makes me.
You're old before your time, Rabbi.
I think my grandson's watching this because he's just sent his papa a message.
Yes. When you were born, were the dinosaurs roaming the planet? Yeah. Yeah.
Well, welcome. Come on and talk to Papa.
Yeah. The answer is I was a bit ahead of the dinosaurs.
Right. You saw them off.
Well, yes. You know, this big meteor came down, and I thought I'll survive. That'll be okay.
I'll go and hide under a rock.
As always.
But it's interesting. There's a rabbi in America. He passed away a couple of years ago, Norman Lamb, and he was a pulpit rabbi for many years. And the Yeshiva University have kept an archive of his sermons. And I recently decided to start dipping into them and printing a few off each week and reading them on a Shabbos. He's writing as early as 1952, 1953, and it's amazing to see how he was tackling some of the same issues that we're still dealing with now. Last week I was reading about this very issue of people, going crazy for technology and buying all of these devices that end up. He even talks about like children being stuck in front of the TV all day, and I was like, 1952. That's crazy that it existed then and it exists now, and the difficulties never really change. So
he wouldn't have sat in front of the television all day because programs didn't go on all day.
And you had a 9-inch screen.
Yeah, children's television between 5 and 6, and then often. Oh, you don't know half of it, Rabbi.
Oh, I certainly do. Do
you remember when it?
I remember when Channel 5 started.
Oh well, before that, at the end of it, you had the test card, and then they played the national anthem, and then this little dot disappeared.
You had that one girl on the test card. Was it the?
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
I'm old enough to remember that.
Yeah.
Really?
No.
Yeah.
Watching the windmill.
I don't remember windmills.
That was an interval thing. When you had an interval. God.
Oh, I know what you're saying. News.
Yeah, it was a poll.
I remember.
Yes.
The news. I remember that.
But don't you think we had better childhoods without the pressures that the kids have today?
It was different.
Oh, yeah.
It was different.
It was different. Yes. We played outside.
We played in the street.
Yes.
Yeah, boys kicked the ball around, girls wheeled a pram around with a dolly in it.
Yeah.
You didn't have the pressure of having to get into the right school and all the exams and everything. It was different world.
No one was afraid in those days. In this day and age, children are driven to school, almost driven right into the classroom.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
Well,
I must tell you as well that when I was on kibbutz in 1967, I was given a family who looked after me and gave me every day we used to go to tea, and we were discussing the kibbutz, and they were talking about the time when the kibbutz decided to buy radios, not TVs. TVs didn't come to Israel till the late 1960s, but they were talking about getting a radio in the 1950s. Should the members have a radio? And there was a huge argument about not giving them radios, because that way they would all come down to the Hadar Rochel and they have their meetings and they get socialized together, and not stay at home and listen to the radio. Yeah, how amazing. And here we are today talking about, you can watch a program from any country in the world if you've got the right technology. Yeah, it's just, and are we insular because of that? Luckily now we're not insular because we're together here, but without Zoom, which is relatively new for our communication because we've been forced to do it, but we were becoming insular. Really?
Aren't we better informed these days because we can get into world news and keep up to date with world? I mean, I've been watching this week because it's been awful. I haven't been out much. The impeachment of Rabbi Trump on CNN.
Got off it. Yeah.
And it's been wonderful to watch the way they put the case together and the way they've, you know, put all the video and film together.
Yeah.
It's horrific, really. But, you know, those are the sort of things that, you know, we were able to watch worldwide these days and keep up to date with what's going on. So we are better, I think we're better informed.
Becomes history.
Yeah.
Yes. It's
But are we necessarily better off for living in an instant world? There's no more anticipation or waiting for anything.
Yes, you're right. We're not. I mean, the rabbi will tell you, and I'll tell you, or anybody who's working with a computer with emails, you know, it used to be if you got a letter, you reply to that letter. The letter would take a week to come and go back and forth, and then move on. And then they got the teletext. You know, the telex. Sorry, the telex. And then a fax.
I worked for a company where we had the first under £1,000 plain paper fax, £999.
Whoa.
Amazing.
Yes, but your answers to the questions which either your suppliers or your customers gave you suddenly went down from 2-3 weeks down to a day, and now it has to be instantaneous. You get an email, you have to answer it straight away.
Immediately.
Yes.
Yeah. It's interesting because when our grandchildren were away from home, when they were in Israel, we had one grandson who was in Israel for 2 years, another 2 grandchildren who were in Israel with school for I don't know, 9 weeks, 12 weeks, whatever. I said to Alan, I'm going to write them letters. They still have got the letters. They were so thrilled to receive the letters.
That's nice.
They said, Grandma, why don't we write letters anymore? I said, you tell me.
Yeah.
You know, it's something you can't keep because it's instant. It's on email. Nobody prints them off. It's the same as photographs.
Exactly.
What have you got there, Miriam?
What's that, Miriam?
I was want to ask Rabbi Nick if he knows what this is.
Can't see it.
I thought you never asked.
It's a slide rule.
The slide rule.
It's a slide rule, Miriam.
Wow.
You're pretending
You slide it and then you rule entire countries.
Well, I was just when you were saying, I can remember when I had my first calculator. It was in my second year at university, and it took hours and hours off my Monday night writing up the physical chemistry lab, because I could just number crunch all the data, and other than that, I had to get out log tables and
logarithms.
Logarithms. Oh gosh. Yeah. I did them for A-levels. I never used them.
There was a book.
You have my
well, if you do
and signs.
Yeah.
If you do chemistry and you don't understand logarithms, as it happens now, you really don't understand the pH scale for acids. So
I count myself in that
Google
group.
it.
My first calculator when I did my research involved turning a handle the number of times I wanted to multiply something.
That's a bit like when the first computers, remember I can do the elementary computing course in at university, and what was it, you had to punch the cards?
Yeah, they are.
Yes.
Yes.
Gosh.
And there's some kind of formula, or they worked out several years ago that the way in which data increases and size decreases, if that makes sense. They anticipated that there was some kind of trajectory that they saw this going. So like once upon a time you had entire rooms just to crunch like 1 megabyte of data, and they said that by the year whatever it is, you'll be able to process that, and it will be the size of that. And I can't remember how it all worked, but they saw that it was that there would be a speed at which the data increases and the processing speed increases, and the size of the device decreases.
Have you ever been to Bletchley Park?
Yes.
No,
Yeah.
it's on,
You can see the computers there. I mean,
Yeah, amazing.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, it is.
I remember on one
when we're allowed
occasion,
out.
because I used to, in a previous job a long time ago, I used to fly domestically maybe every couple of weeks. And I remember on one occasion, as we were coming off the aircraft, going up to the cockpit of a Boeing 757, and, you know, looking there in amazement. And the captain said, "We've got more technology here in the 757 than took men up to the moon."
Yes. Oh, yeah. Easily.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Incredible. But, you know, everything's instantaneous. We don't even want to wait for Mashiach anymore. We want Mashiach now.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. From your mouth to God's ears.
Well, he would come, but it's the hotel bill of staying for. He's got to pay 1,750 quid.
If he does come, as long as he's wearing a mask.
Very true.
So as the rabbi said at the beginning, does it make you all happy?
I know.
If you can have a laugh, it's something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think all the things that now, because of the situation that we're in, like this Thursday evening, and I'm sure we all feel the same, we all have we all enjoy this. Well, we look forward to it each week. I loved last night, the rock and roll. That brings us happiness. All these little things bring us, because during the day, it's just a bit of a drudge.
Boring.
Routine, very boring, going through our routine. So these are the things that give us happiness. And I know this weekend we're celebrating our son's bar mitzvah, grandson's bar mitzvah, so that will bring us happiness, nafas, kvelling.
Right.
And you can communicate with people now that you wouldn't be doing. I mean, this week at Sage, we had Rabbi Selaznik on.
Yeah.
He was lovely to see. I don't know if any of you were on.
Yeah.
He's already had 15 views this week on YouTube.
He looked well. It was lovely to hear him and how he's enjoying life out there. And how would I ever communicate with Rabbi Selaznik, have an hour of his time or more without this Zoom? It's a really tremendous benefits.
Yeah.
There's definitely parts of all of this progress that makes us very happy.
Yeah.
The rat race and the chase for all of it, I feel like often doesn't. That's the observation that I've made. The way in which people are craving and constantly itching for the next thing, that doesn't seem to be all that productive. But when we find the bits that we can make use of to improve our lives, then it goes a long way. Maybe I'll finish off just with one thought, but I think we can carry on schmoozing after the recording's turned off. But one little one little thing, there is so much that you could say about ways of finding happiness. The one that springs to mind is that in Perkei Avot it says, who is a wealthy person, and the answer that it gives is hasameach b'chelko. Doesn't say someone who's got loads of money. It doesn't say someone who's got the latest iPhone. It says someone who is happy with what they have, with their lot.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably the starting point to finding happiness, is to appreciate the things that we do have, and not always to have our eyes focused on the things that we don't, or to have our eyes focused on the fact that they've also got it, or the fact that they've got a nicer one than me, whatever it is. So yeah.
But being happy with your lot,
hours.
Being happy with your lot could be being happy with your lot of money.
So let me just turn off all the recordings, and then we can carry on schmoozing a little bit. So wishing everybody Shabbat Shalom, and all the rest of it. No, you guys don't answer me. We're just turning off the recording. That's okay. So yeah, I'll keep this one on just in case.
Rabbi,
we can stay live on Facebook. Yeah.
Rabbi, can I ask you a question?
Please.
You don't have to answer it. How do you reconcile Torah with space travel?
How do I reconcile it? Why do you think it can't be?
Are they incompatible, or are they?
Why should they be incompatible? Just a Jew always answers a question with a question.
A rabbi always answers a question with a question.
Why should they be incompatible?
Well, because it's customary when we pray, we look upwards to God. Looking upwards is to look into the planets, to heaven, to whatever. So what is space travel? Where does that fit in?
It's a great question. Do you mean, do we think that it's in the Torah that there could be life out on other planets? Is that where the question's coming from?
Well, that's really what it's leading to, isn't it?
I don't think they're incompatible. I just don't know the right answer. You know, is there life on other planets? Maybe. I'll tell you one thing.
I don't expect you to answer it because it's...
Oh, okay. I'm not sure how to. So that's good. But what I will say is that from a scientific perspective, I genuinely don't think we will ever reach these extreme places to be able to know the answer. That's not a Jewish answer or a Torah answer. I just genuinely don't think that we will ever. The stuff of science fiction, I think, will remain forever fiction. I don't think we will reach a point of warp travel. I don't.
Well, what about Lubavitch outreach?
Yeah, one thing you can count on: if they do get there, there'll be a Chabad.
Did we ever think 20, 30 years ago we would have landings on Mars? No, we didn't. We never dreamt we would.
I did.
Oh, okay.
I watched Captain Scarlet, so I knew it was going to happen. But I think one of the things that and again, I realize that people call me Rabbi, but just from the scientific perspective, the distance between just the planets in our own solar system are so, I don't think we really get how far away these things are. And that's before you even broach the concept of going to other solar systems. So I really don't see how in one person's lifetime, at the very least, you'll have a situation where people can travel between systems.
I think that's only though because methods of propulsion that can get us there to like warp factor speeds have not yet been discovered. I mean, if you said to somebody 100 years ago, well, you know, there are people on the planet who are billionaires when they're counting money in farthings.
Yeah,
it's inconceivable 100 years ago that people have got so much money. And I think it's a question of scale.
I'm not saying it's impossible. I just don't think it will happen.
What about flying? What about flying?
Not in our lifetime.
Like that?
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Who would have ever thought that? I mean, who would have ever thought that you'd be able to talk with a soft voice in the comfort of your own home, and someone on the other end of the, other side of the world would be able to hear you
and see you
and see you.
Yeah.
So no, I definitely appreciate that the possible advances for technology do exist, but I'm just not convinced. Really not. There was a very interesting article by a guy called Velvel Green, who I think is a Jewish rocket scientist potentially, and I think he became Chabad. And I remember reading a chapter from something where he was comparing the way in which the Torah transmitted our heritage throughout generations as a necessary part of Jewish people's survival, and he compared that with space travel, and saying that even if it doesn't happen in one person's lifetime, so a team of people will set voyage out to another system somewhere in space, and they won't live to see the end of that journey. So they're going to have to figure out how to transmit the importance of the mission to the next generation of space travelers. Maybe I'll just find the article and send it to you. But that would be the way in which you reconcile space travel and the Torah. The concept that it will have to be a mission that exists beyond one generation. I don't think one generation will be able to get all the way. I don't know. It might happen.
It's not for us to complete the work.
No, that's right. Lo alecha hamlacha ligmor.
We'll let you know, Rabbi.
Yeah. Beat me up, Scotty. Kathy, just going back to one thing that you apparently, I don't think he ever said "beat me up, Scotty." Is it? I think it's one of those things that everyone thinks he said.
Yes, that's right. I heard that as well. Yeah.
Kathy, I was just going to mention before about writing letters. Alav Shalom. When we had to write to pen pals in year 6 in Sinai, and then those pen pals were the people that we went to stay with on the Israel trip.
Yeah.
So I went on the Israel trip with you in '96, and the family that I stayed with, I reconnected with in year 8 when year 9 when I went to Yemen Ord. And it turned out that my grandma's cousin who lived in Jerusalem knew my host's grandma. And so we reconnected. And now we've somehow reconnected all these years later because the family were originally from Sweden, as are both of my brothers-in-law's family. And so it's amazing how even after all those years, it kind of it followed through.
That was like Rabbi Solazny.
I'm getting there. I'm working on it.
Long way to go, Rabbi.
Well,
yeah, he wishes.
Enough Facebook stalking and I'll get there. He did it without Facebook, but I rely on other techniques.
I remember when we moved into the community and invited us for Friday night, and you know how he tries to probe into your family. He got really frustrated with us because he couldn't connect us to anybody.
Oh, wow.
I had to apologise.
I think he had a similar problem with my dad's family because we told him that the name was Ketlerovsky and he was like, can't really do much with that. But then we actually discovered that we didn't know our own original surname and it used to be Kotliarevsky. So I haven't asked him since then, but there we go. Just goes to show.
He always used to call himself, though, a Master of Mishpathology.
I don't think anyone would disagree with that.
No.
Maybe we'll try and get him on for a chicken soup schmooze at some point.
Yeah, that would be nice. That would be nice. Very nice.
Be a bit late for him.
Yeah. That's a good point.
Yes, that's true.
We'll do an earlier one, maybe.
He's usually up late.
There we go. I think Facebook's had enough of us, so I'm going to turn off the recording on Facebook now. So wishing everyone on Facebook a Shabbat Shalom, lots of love.